All right, welcome to the Cardinal Quarter online information session for summer of 2020. My name is Hillary Douglas. I am one of the program directors for undergraduate fellowships under the Cardinal Quarter umbrella at the Haas Center for Public Service. She, her, hers pronouns, and I am joined by my colleague.
And I'm Valerie Chow. I'm the other program director here at the Haas Center for Cardinal Quarter, and I also use she, her, hers pronouns. Great. So before we dive right into the Cardinal Quarter initiative, we wanted to give you an overview of what Cardinal Service is. So the Haas Center is the hub for Cardinal Service, which is an initiative to make service an essential feature of an undergraduate education or an Stanford education. And there are 4 components to it, one of which is Cardinal Quarter, and we'll spend our entire time today talking about that. But just to give you a snapshot of the other 3 pillars that we have under Cardinal Service, Cardinal Courses is a series of service learning courses that you can take to apply what you're learning in the community. And these courses are tagged as Cardinal Service Cardinal courses in Explore courses. So you can go ahead and take a look at those if you would like to take one of those. The next pillar is Cardinal Commitment, where you make a sustained commitment to a student organization, an issue area, or a community organization over multiple quarters. You can declare commitment, certify the commitment, have a mentor, and it's great to make a sustained commitment in that way. And then the last pillar is Cardinal Careers. So we have a team here at the Haas Center that is dedicated to helping you explore career options after your Stanford education and to try to tie in a public service career into your long-term goals. So if you're looking for career advising, you can definitely come and meet with our colleagues in the careers team, and they also do post-graduation 1-year-long fellowships in the public service sector.
All right, great. So what is Cardinal Quarter? Cardinal Quarter is really the opportunity to participate in a full-time, so quarter-long public service experience, which is designed to integrate your academic learning and a field-based experience. So the basics are that it is 9 consecutive weeks for full-time, which is 35 hours a week. There is support for these opportunities, so that base stipend is $5,500, really to try to cover some of the cost of living for those 9 weeks. If you are going to be serving in a high cost of living area, so for example, if you're going to be in the Bay Area or in Washington, D.C. or New York, there is an additional $1,000 to cover some of that extra cost of living. If you're going to be traveling internationally, there's also an additional $1,000. On top of that, for those who qualify for financial aid and have a summer earnings expectation that they have to meet, we do work with the financial aid office and give a bump so that those students can meet their summer earnings expectation. These opportunities can be done locally, they can be done nationally, they can be done internationally. The thing with international opportunities is that we do adhere to the provost's undergraduate international travel policy, which basically states that undergraduates can only travel to regions that are listed as level 1 or level 2 on the State Department's warning list and advisory list. This means that the country, the region, and the city all have to be within a level 1 or a level 2. So if you have questions about the destination that you want to travel to, definitely reach out to us and we can talk through a little bit more about what that policy is. These opportunities can be in any pathway. The Haas Center lists several pathways to public service, including community engaged learning and research, community organizing and activism, direct service, philanthropy, policy and governance, social entrepreneurship, and corporate social responsibility. So whatever service is and your path of service, there is an opportunity for you. These opportunities come in 3 different types. The first we call prearranged. Prearranged means that the Stanford entity that is offering that opportunity has already worked with the organization, whether that's a government office or a nonprofit, and they have already arranged that that office is going to take a Stanford student for the upcoming summer. So you would apply through Stanford directly for that opportunity. This is really good. It's an easy entry point for folks who might not want to or have the capacity to do some legwork and find their own opportunity. Something like Stanford in government or Stanford Arts or the Bill Lane Center, they have prearranged opportunities. The second set of opportunities are self-designed opportunities. A self-designed opportunity means that you would like to find the organization that you are going to work for on your own. Whether that is an organization from home, maybe that you've already had a connection with, or an organization that you've read about, or something that has been mentioned in your class, or if you just want to go out and find a brand new organization, what you would do is arrange with that organization or that office, secure an opportunity for the summer, and then you would come back to us and apply for funding. So you do need to secure those opportunities on your own prior to applying for funding before the deadline. The third type of fellowship that we have at the Haas Center is called a project. And projects are, there's 5 components of them. The first is that they are student designed in partnership with a community organization. They are implemented by the student. There's an immediate impact within 9 weeks. There is something tangible that gets left with a community partner, and it is sustainable after the student leaves. So this is a little less like a traditional internship, but you are coming to that organization and really based on their needs, figuring out something that you can do that's going to really add value. A lot of times this will look like building a curriculum. So for example, you would go to the organization, work with them, design a curriculum, then maybe lead the workshops, which would be you know, the student designed, student implemented, and immediate impact, right? And then you would train the trainers, so those who are going to lead the workshop after you leave, so that's the sustainability piece, and then leaving that curriculum behind would be the tangible piece. But this looks all different ways, and there's a lot of different opportunities. We'd be happy to chat with you more individually about what projects look like. The last real key component that you need to be aware of is that for the Haas Center Fellowships, the one that we're going to focus on primarily today, that application deadline is February 4th. So that's Tuesday of week 5. That comes by fast. So start thinking about what it is you want to do for your summer now.
So just to briefly go over the goals of our program. So for students, it's definitely an opportunity for you to deepen understanding of public service areas, whatever you'll be working in over the summer, and to explore different career paths through hands-on learning experience over the summer and to draw connections to coursework. So maybe you've taken a class in an issue area that you've become super interested in, like, you know, criminal justice reform or something like that. And you can definitely find a summer opportunity in that area to learn more in a hands-on way. And then for community partners, they really appreciate the Cardinal Quarter Fellowships program because it increases their organizational capacity in a very meaningful way. We have very high performing students here at Stanford, and they really do help increase organizational capacity at these community organizations. And they have access to an incredible talent pool here at Stanford as well. The great thing about the fellowships program is that the community partners don't have to pay into our program at all. So your help is free of charge to them, and they appreciate that a lot. So here's just some sample summer 2019 experiences from Cardinal Quarter Fellows, just to show you the breadth of what students did last summer. So starting from the left, that's Ariade, and she worked at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. through a Stanford and Government Fellowship, and that fellowship will be repeated this coming summer. And then the next picture is Regina. She worked in Southeast Alaska, in a very remote part of it, at a place called Indian Islands Institute, where she did a storytelling project with the local folks there. And then the next picture is Alexa, and she worked in Costa Rica at a organization called Bean Voyage, and they do sustainable coffee farming. So, and she also did a storytelling project with them as well, in addition to helping day to day with their operations. And then the next picture shows Rachel, Kalea, and Sarah, and they worked in Clarksdale, Mississippi at a organization called Spring Initiative, and they worked with a summer youth program there through the Education and Youth Development Fellowship, and that is a prearranged opportunity that will be repeated again this summer, and they had an incredible experience there, so highly recommend that one as well. And then the picture below that, that's Lizzie and Will, and they worked at the California Governor's Office this past summer through a Stanford and Government Fellowship, and that will also be repeated this summer. And then the last picture is Eric, and he worked at the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development through the Urban Summer Fellowship, and he found that opportunity himself and self-designed it and had a wonderful time there as well.
All right, so for those of you who are thinking about doing an opportunity that is going to be self-designed or a project, which also involves finding your own community partner, we have a couple of tips for you. The first thing to do, we think, is to go to the Cardinal Quarter Opportunities page on the Haas Center for Public Service website. On the left, you will see a tab for resources for fellowship applicants. This is a great place to find all sorts of information as you're looking to put together your application for an opportunity. But about halfway down that page, there is something called Cardinal Quarter Connections. If you click on the link, it'll bring you to a Google Sheet that is populated with over 80 organizations who have reached out to us and said, hey, we would be interested in hosting a Stanford student for an opportunity this summer. The benefit here is that a lot of these organizations have already hosted Stanford students in the past, or they're alums, or they have otherwise heard about the program, so they already understand what it is. They know a little bit about how it has to be 9 weeks and that you're going to get funding from the university, so it makes it a little bit of an easier entry point. You can do keyword searches, you can search by location. There is a real variety of opportunities available through the Cardinal Quarter connection sheet. The next thing that you can do is look through former fellows. So we have, again, on that left column on that opportunities page, there's going to be a page for Meet the Undergraduate Fellows. If you scroll to the bottom of that page, you will see all the way from summer 2019 going back to summer 2007, you can look at where fellows have gone in the past. These are increasingly growing lists. So a keyword search is definitely the way to go. If you know your interest area or a location that you would like to be in, that can help out. Or if you know a particular fellowship opportunity that you're interested in, you can see what some folks did with those opportunities in the past. Also, great resource would be to reach out to some of our peer advisors. We have 7. They have a variety of experiences, so they would be a real resource in helping you find a community partner. There's a couple of different ways that you can connect with Stanford alums. The first is there's a Stanford Alumni Mentoring Network. They call it SAM. It is hosted through Beam, so you can sign up for that, and Stanford alums have reached out to Beam and said that they are interested in mentoring Stanford students. So these are alums who are actively looking to connect with undergraduate students. So it'd be a great way for you to get in touch with an alum. You can go by interest area or location, and even if they are not exactly in the field that you are looking to be in, they might have connections. So that is a great way. Another great way is to go through the Stanford Alumni Association. As you are all on the path to becoming Stanford alums, it's a great time to sign up for your account for the Alumni Association, and then you'll be connected to a plethora of Stanford alums. And again, you can use a keyword searches and geographic searches to find alums that either are in the region that you want to be in, or maybe work in your interest area, and reach out to them and start making some connections. Another great way to go is reaching out to faculty and staff. If you've taken a class and you think that faculty might have connections to community partners or might be able to point you, definitely go and chat with them. If you have some relationships with staff and you think that they're involved and might know good organizations to work with, reach out to them as well. Certainly friends and family also make really great network starting points. Of course, there is always the internet. So if you are interested in a Google search would be a really wide way to go. You can also check out Volunteer Match and idealist.org. For those of you who have not yet spent much time on the Beam website, highly recommend that you do. Handshake is also a great resource for finding fellowship and internship opportunities for the summer.
So just to kind of explain what the program components will look like once you have received a Cardinal Quarter fellowship from the Haas Center. So we will try to award everything before spring break. So over spring quarter, there are a lot of preparatory components. So you will be asked to participate in a mandatory online program orientation, and then an in-person Principles of Ethical and Effective Service workshop if you're on campus. If not, then there is an online option. And then you'll be asked to meet with an academic or fellowship mentor for your fellowship and to design a learning plan to write up some goals that you hope to accomplish over the summer. And then if you're serving outside of the US, then there'll be an additional international preparation module that you'll need to do online as well. And then over the summer, we expect everybody to work full-time, at least 35 hours per week for 9 consecutive weeks over the summer. And that is a hard requirement. Your placement or project must begin by July 6th. It's okay. By July 6th. And another note is that you cannot work remotely. So all of these placements, you need to be able to go to a physical office and work with a team in person. And then the Haas Center will contact you through email to ask you to complete an early summer very brief report, as well as a more involved end of summer report. And then we will also ask for some donor stewardship materials from you all, because the vast majority of the funding that we have for this program, they come from outside donors and not from Stanford. So we would need to write thank you letters to them to show our appreciation to keep the program going. And then once you return in the fall quarter, we will ask that you meet with your academic or fellowship mentor one more time to debrief your experience. And the Haas Center will be hosting the reflection activities as well. And you will also have the opportunity to present at places like SERPS, which is the Symposia on Undergraduate Research and Public Service. And we will also ask you to serve as an ambassador of the program and to spread the word and to get more students involved.
All right, so who is eligible for these opportunities? Everyone, basically. So the eligibility requirements really vary across the fellowships. So there are a lot of different types of opportunities offered by over 30 partner departments across campus. So really make sure you're confirming these on the websites of the opportunities you're interested in. In general, these opportunities are open to fully matriculated Stanford undergraduate students. Continuing undergraduates are preferred for those who are graduating seniors. We ask that you not apply in round 1, but in round 2 if there is funding for round 2. But there are opportunities where seniors going into a co-term might be eligible. So really be sure to check those websites. Certainly, all academic disciplines are welcome. You are not bound by your major or your minor or your double major. Everyone is welcome to participate in these opportunities, even if that's dipping in something that is completely unrelated to some of the things that you've already been working on in your time at Stanford. Non-US citizens are eligible for these opportunities. So you do not have to have any kind of work permit or work eligibility to participate in the majority of these programs because the money is coming directly through Stanford. So it's going to come through financial aid. It's going to drop through your university accounts. So the organizations or offices are not paying you themselves. The money is coming from Stanford. That being said, there are a few opportunities. So, for example, Stanford and government has an opportunity with the Department of Defense, and they are looking for a U.S. citizen. So keep that in mind. But overall, non-U.S. citizens are eligible for these opportunities. We do have a number of fellowships that would be well suited for Frosh. So, for example, our spirituality service and social change. There's a cohort component of that opportunity. So for folks serving in the Bay Area, that is a really good way to go. They get together on Tuesday afternoons to debrief their experiences and sort of talk about the ethics of service and how that relates to their own values and beliefs. Also, Stanford and government stake in local fellowships, and their stipend program is very Frosh friendly. And just as a point of interest, that there are as many Frosh who receive these opportunities as anybody else. So don't feel deterred if you are in your first year at Stanford. The last requirement for all of our fellows is that everybody must have health insurance for the duration of the summer. So whether you are covered by your family or your friends or paying for it yourself, or you have Cardinal Care, that care and coverage must extend through the summer.
So in order to apply, by February 4th, you will need to fill out an application. And the application is relatively short. There are 3 short answer questions. We're looking for about 1 paragraph each for each of the 3 questions. So not super long, but three short answer questions. And then you'll also need to upload a resume, 1-page resume, and also your unofficial transcript that you can download from Access. And then if you are doing a self-designed opportunity where you have found your own community partner, then you would need to send your community partner a questionnaire online to fill out so that they also have that form in by February 4th. In addition to that, you will need a reference form from somebody who knows you, who knows why you want to apply to this opportunity. And that form also is online, and they need to complete that by February 4th as well. After the written materials are submitted, it will be reviewed by selection committees, and then folks will be invited for interviews at the Haas Center on campus. Those are 20-minute interviews, and those will run anywhere from mid-February to March. And then we are trying to notify everybody by March 13th. If you get an offer, you have 48 hours to decide whether to accept, because we are trying to have everybody set by before spring break. And we are going to usually have a waitlist situation, and we just need to move the process along. So just know that if you get an offer for a fellowship, you will have 48 hours to accept or decline the offer.
All right, so what are some of the selection criteria? This is the Haas Center for Public Service. These are public service opportunities. So a commitment to public service is one of the #1 things that we are going to look for. We don't expect that to mean that you have been working in this issue area for the last 10 years and all of your courses are dedicated to it, but we do want to see commitment to public service, or reasons why you're ready to dive into public service now. We are looking for a certain level of preparation for these opportunities. Again, this does not mean years of experience and previous internship experience or coursework, but there are things that you have done that are going to prepare you. So for example, if you're going to be working in an office, what other experience have you had, or preparation might you have done that would be beneficial to you leading into this summer? Certainly it's a good idea to check out not just the winter courses that you're taking, but also if there's spring courses that you might consider taking. If you are offered these opportunities, definitely go ahead and list those on the application as well. We would like to see a connection to academic coursework and future career goals. However, that being said, we do not expect that anyone be on a very straight line trajectory throughout their time at Stanford. So you don't have to say from the first day you set foot on campus, I am pre-law, and everything that you do relates to being pre-law, and of course you are going to law school at the end. If that works for you, then that is fantastic. In our experience, people's paths are a little bit more all over the place, and you're going to dip in and out of all kinds of different things to see what works for you, and we think that's fantastic. But we do want to know how this opportunity is going to fit under the umbrella of your learning and your experiences here at Stanford. Like what might be informed by this summer experience for you. We are looking for communication skills, so please make sure that everything is well written and clear. Also, we're really looking for authentic partnership with the community organization. So the more that you can be in touch with that community organization prior to completing your application, the better off you will be. Now, for anybody who's interested in a project-based experience, we're also looking for a real ability to identify community need. Oftentimes we, as Stanford students, might see a project that we want to complete, and we might try to shove it into to an organization, regardless of what the organization's needs are or the community needs are. So we really want to see things happening here in collaboration. Certainly with the project-based ones, design, implementation, we want to see those things laid out. Measurable outcomes are real important. Feasibility, sometimes 9 weeks feels like a long time, and actually sometimes it can be a very short amount of time. And innovation as well is important. Now, for those of you who are planning on traveling internationally, there is an added element. We are looking for language skills. This does not mean that you need to be fluent. However, every year prior to students' departure, they tell me, oh, I've talked to my organization, I can get by in English, it's going to be fine. And then every year those same students come back and say, yeah, it would have been a little bit better if I'd spoken more of the language. So if you're planning on going to an international location, you know, these opportunities are about more than just work, right? You're going to need to navigate transportation. You're going to need to be able to get through grocery stores and restaurants. So language skills, even if they're not fully developed, plans to continue developing them through the winter and the spring are highly, highly valued. Certainly any knowledge of or prior experience with a host country. If you know a little bit about the country, if you know about the issue area, if you know what social and political and cultural things are at play leading to some of the issues related to the interest area, all of that is going to be really helpful. Also, having contacts in the host country is helpful. It's not required, but if you have some connections, it can really help out.
So just a few tips and resources as you write your application. You may want to consider the principles of ethical and effective service when you are filling out your application. The Haas Center, that's how we operate. These principles are incredibly important when we talk to students about service. So you might want to take a few minutes just to read through them and think about how you're going to incorporate those during your service and maybe mention a couple of them in your application. We are looking for passion and interest in the summer placement or project. That is the first question that we ask in the application. And we do want to know why you want to do this fellowship over the summer. Some students misread or misconstrue that question into, you know, why you're interested in the funding aspect. We don't need to know why you're interested in the funding aspect. We want to know why you want to do the summer placement or work on the issue area over the summer. Hillary said this already, but I'm going to underscore that you need to speak in depth with your community partner if you're doing a self-design opportunity to plan your summer experience together. It's really important that you're on the same page as your host organization about what your summer is going to look like, what projects you may be working on. Sometimes the community partner questionnaire looks quite different than what the student wrote in their application, and that would raise red flags for us and show that you have not really discussed your summer experience with your community partner. So try to, at least get on the phone once or twice before the application deadline, just so you have you're on the same page. You are going to need a reference form filled out, and we want you to ask a reference from somebody who knows you well. So if you have a Stanford faculty member or staff member who you have a relationship with and who knows you well and can write that form for you, that's great. And it does not have to be a tenured faculty member. It can be, an instructor, RF, somebody else, it's fine as well. Just somebody who actually knows you instead of a professor who taught you in a large lecture course and they don't actually really know who you are. If you are a frosh or you don't have, a close relationship with somebody at Stanford, you can definitely ask somebody outside of Stanford as well. You can be a former supervisor. It can also be, a teacher from high school, just somebody who knows, who knows you pretty well. You can also be a graduate TA, just not an undergraduate student. So don't let that deter you that we're requiring a reference form. The form is really short. It's basically, one question, and the person only needs to write a few sentences. So it's not a very intense recommendation letter by any means. And so that's why we only call it a reference form. And it's good to have that, under your belt early on anyway, to have that reference form filled out by somebody. You might need that later for grad school or whatever. Really highly recommend that you have somebody read through your application. It can be, any professor, advisor, fellow students. The Hume Center is really great. They have tutors available for appointments, and you should definitely take advantage of them. They know our application really well and know what we look for. So they're a great resource, and we'll tell you that in the next slide about additional resources that the Hume Center will offer. And Beam is great for resume review and as well as interview prep. Everybody needs a one-page resume. So if you don't have that, go to Beam and they will help you to how to shorten and tailor your resume to what you're applying for. So definitely take advantage of those resources as well. So just a few more things that we are running at the Haas Center. We are going to have a resume lab on Monday, January 13th after break. So if you do need your resume reviewed, come to that. The Beam staff will be hosting that, as well as an interview lab on January 27th during lunch. And, we will, like I said, we have a 20-minute interview that you will need to go through. So definitely go to the lab and find out some interview tricks and tips. And then lastly, there is an application writing workshop that the Hume Center will be running on Tuesday, January 28th. And they will give you really great tips, and there'll be time to work on your application during the workshop. So definitely take advantage of that. And it'd be great if you can go on the Haas Center events website and RSVP for these labs if you're interested in coming, just because we need to provide food and we need to make sure that we have enough food available for everybody.
All right, so if you have questions, we have a lot of places that you can go to find answers. Certainly the Cardinal Quarter Opportunities website from the Haas Center for Public Service website has resources for fellowship applicants. It has frequently asked questions and program policies. So really great to check those 3 things out. Certainly you can reach out to any of our peer advisors. We have 7 peer advisors. Like I said earlier, there is a wide variety of experiences that they have. They've all been through this process and can help you and give you some tips along the way. You also can drop by and chat with either Valerie or I at the Haas Center on the 2nd floor, Tuesdays from 12 to 2 or Fridays from 1 to 3 in the winter quarter, or by appointment. If you want to email us, you can either email cardinalquarter@stanford.edu or you can email us individually as well. So definitely reach out if you have any questions, and we look forward to seeing you in the winter quarter. Thanks so much.